Welcome to tonight's broadcast. Tonight's broadcast is on Peppermint Essential Oil, Minta Peperia. Very, very excited about this product. It has one of the longest history traveling with it as you look at it. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to spend some time on history, and then we're going to go through and spend a little bit of time actually talking about some of the things it can do. Now, what's kind of fun is you'll find that I've been a little more liberal tonight, sharing with you some of the things that Peppermint will do, and that's because there's so much information out there, which you'll see in a little bit why it is so powerful. But Minta Peperia, we're going to talk a little bit about the first name, Minta. Literally, it's kind of named after one of the compounds. And Peperia, of course, because it has a little peppermint tangy flavor to it for pepper. So it kind of gives you a little idea there. But there are a lot of species of mint. You have your spearmint, your water mint, your forest mint. And they talk about the water mint and the spearmint. Some people say this, that the water mint and the spearmint kind of hybridized itself, and that's where we get peppermint. But that's just one theory that's out there. Others claim that it's been raised in England clear back past the 18th century. It's referred in ancient texts. And this is what's so amazing about this amazing oil. Not only the herb itself, but the oil. And there's references dating back to the essential oil side of it, clear back 1500 BC. It's amazing. They literally started just taking the leaves and crushing them and throwing them in water and letting the sun heat up the water. And then the oil would float on the top, and then they would just pour it off. And that's how they started using peppermint oil in the very beginnings, clear back before recorded time. It's absolutely amazing. And here's what's so fun about that is it's been used around the world. Mint is something that's not just happened in this country or that country. It literally, mint has grown all around the world and has been used by a lot of indigenous cultures all over the globe. And that makes it kind of cool. And if you look at the medical papers that have been written that date clear back, I mean, you have the Ibra Papyrus, 1550 BC, all kinds of recipes, medical recipes dealing with mint, stomach pains. And you can go all through all of these ancient texts and see this. It's absolutely quite impressive when you look at the history. And even if you go to the Bible, you find references all through the Bible. One in Luke that I just wanted to share with you, just to kind of help you understand that it was prized. The Pharisees even tried to tax or tithe mint and rue and all manners of herbs. And, here again, it was prized. It was valuable. It was something of great worth. And so you can see that this is not just something just kind of is passing by through history and just happened to just at one point get real excited. No, it's happened a lot. Even the Greek mythology has quite a story dealing with mint. It's kind of amazing how this all flowed into different cultures. Peppermint has been used in many, many ancient cultures. Even the Romans, the philosopher Pliny, wrote about mint and the use of peppermint to stimulate the appetite and stir the mind and the appetite for food. He also wrote that mint should be bound into a crown around the head in order to stimulate the mind and the soul. These are some pretty ancient stuff, and we know now through research that he was dead on, that these things are absolutely something we should be looking at. Peppermint was eventually introduced to Europe, where it also became a very popular culinary medical herb. It's actually mentioned in the Icelandic pharmacopoeia as early as 1240 AD. Guys, again, you can kind of see there's some pretty powerful information that has just followed it through the centuries. The monks in the Middle Ages, they were known to use peppermint as tooth polish. And during the same period of time, cheesemakers used it because they knew it'd keep the rats and the mice out of the storeroom. It's kind of amazing. Peppermint has appeared in so many things. Actually, if you look in the London Pharmacopoeia in 1721, you're going to find a list of remedies in the ancient London Pharmacopoeia. It worked with all kinds of things like sores and venereal disease, colds and headaches. It has continued to gain popularity over the years, and literally it has increased from just a few acres of cultivation to literally thousands, not hundreds, but thousands of acres of cultivation. Here in America, of course, the Native Americans, the Indians, they are already aware of peppermint, and they use the mint that was growing. It's a little bit different species than what you'd find in Europe. But that's okay, because it has some amazing healing properties. And I remember as a child camping in the back country of Idaho, my dad picking wild mint and making mint tea for breakfast, the mint that grew along the streams and the creek beds. Amazing, beautiful flavor. And so as the settlers came to America and found that the Indians were using the wild mint that was growing here, they were quite impressed. But they brought with them the non-native mints, and they quickly became naturalized and spread throughout the entire continent. In the beginning, H.G. Hotchkiss, International Prize Medal Essential Oil Company, they literally produced essential oil along the Erie Canal. That's where the first huge fields were planted. In fact, back in the early 1839, they had actually distilled 30 gallons of peppermint oil. And at that time, in 1839, it sold for $30,000. You think about that. The family was set for life. That much money back in the 1830s, holy cow. That is a lot of money. That'd be equivalent of 30, 40 million today. And back during that period of time, they were responsible for about half of the annual production of peppermint from the United States. North America peppermint growing now is almost exclusively in the northeast and Indiana, New York, some of the southern Canadian areas, Michigan. And literally they produce half of all the peppermint that you'll find in the world. Well, here's the thing we have to look at. Eastern American peppermint is considered to be much inferior to the English peppermint oil, which is considered by aromatherapists to be the best following the French peppermint oil. But here's what we have found through our searching and our testing of different peppermints from around the world. The Western American peppermint, which is raised out in Oregon and Washington State, is considered equal to the English peppermint. When you look and you compare constituents side by side through a gas chromatogram, there is really not a whole lot of difference. In fact, in some cases, the Western American peppermint is much better than the English peppermint because we have younger soil, and it hasn't been used and commercially hammered like you see a lot in England. And so the constituents are better, higher percentages, no residues that you'll find a lot of times with the English peppermint. And so we're really excited because that's where we acquire our peppermint is from the Western Americas, and it is absolutely pristine. Now the reason why there's sometimes a difference in variety in the U.S. because the black variety is the most often grown. That's what you'll see. While in Europe, they use the more delicate white variety. It thrives a little better in a harsher climate. I should say in a more mild climate. So your harsher climates like we'll have up in the northeastern area, Michigan and Erie Canal, New York, they grow the black peppermint, which does not have as fine of constituents. Over in Washington and Oregon, they will grow the white peppermint, which is much more delicate, has a better aroma and better constituents. So with that kind of history and understanding of the longevity of peppermint, what is it good for? Why would you even want to have it around? Well, I took the liberty to actually go into this very large natural medicine comprehensive database. This book is about 4.5 inches thick. There's over 1,600 pages here. And it literally goes through every natural thing. I mean, it talks about grasses and roots and oils. It has it all. And it was interesting as I flipped through it and got to peppermint. It's on page 1425. There were several pages on peppermint. We had peppermint leaf, then we had peppermint oil. And it was interesting to see that the leaf itself actually had some precautions where the oil did not have precautions. I found that quite interesting as I went through that and looked at this amazing database. And here I just took right from their book what they had listed, guys, and I found this quite interesting too, because a lot of people in the aromatherapy world, oh, you don't take essential oils internally or orally, they'll kill you. Well, right in this here Natural Medicine Comprehensive Database, this here is a book that I actually acquired from a pharmacist. This book is supplied to the medical world, to doctors, and to pharmacies. The pharmacists have this. This is their Bible dictionary, if you want to take a look at it that way. But look at this. Orally, peppermint, used for coughs, colds, inflammation of the mouth and the larynx and the pharynx, liver and gallbladder complaints, IBS, toothache, cramps of the upper intestinal tract, the gastrointestinal tract, as well as bile duct, oral mucus, and inflammation. So they are literally in this book talking about how you can use peppermint orally for those items. They're not dancing around it, tiptoeing through the tulips by it. They come flat out and say, you put this flat in your mouth, bottom line, just like that. And then they go on to topical use of the essential oil, headaches, muscle pains, rheumatic conditions. Now, when we talk about rheumatic conditions, we're talking about fever, rheumatic fever. So reduction of fever, bone pain. They go on to talk about quieting severe pain that occurs along the damaged nerves. So we're talking about nerve pain, neuralgia. They went in and talked about pertussis, severe itching of the skin, and hives as an antibacterial agent, as an antiviral agent, a repellent for mosquitoes. And actually, it went on to say in there that it would kill mosquito larvae. So if you have stagnant water and you look in and you see all the larvae swimming around there, drop some peppermint in there, they're dead. It's kind of awesome. Diarrhea. Look at the amount of information that pharmacists have at their fingertips that they can really take a look at. And here's what was kind of cool about this. Below what they said the use was actually for, they had interactions with drugs, interactions with other medical complications, interactions with other herbs. And it was really quite amazing as I went down there, looked at the interaction, there was none known. The only interaction that it has, because one of the things that peppermint oil does show is it'll help with some women who might have a challenge with not being able to have a period. So it'll help them have a period. And so with that, you know, there is a caution saying, well, don't use it when you're pregnant because it could possibly make you have an abortion. The chance that happening is very, very unlikely. From the research that I was reading, 1 in 100,000 people actually had premature contractions when using peppermint. But if you go on and look at what it says about inhaling it as the use of aromatically, so smelling it or diffusing it, look at here, symptomatic treatment of cough and cold, so diffuse it in your room, nausea, vomiting, and look at that, morning sickness. So here I find it quite interesting. It's very effective for morning sickness, but if you're not using it because you're pregnant, you kind of see there's a kind of an oxymoron thing there. Well, don't use it because you're going to have an abortion, but boy, it'll stop morning sickness. You can kind of see. And that's why we always say that if you've been using peppermint along and you become pregnant, the chance of you having premature contractions are going to be very small. And that's what we've actually seen demonstrated. In fact, we have a lot of people that if they can't have their peppermint during pregnancy, they are mean because it does help with the morning sickness. Respiratory infection. This is all inhalation, diffusion, kind of amazing. So what I want to do with that information, I want to break this down into different body systems. We're going to talk about the integumentary system, the skin. Look at the things that peppermint has been able to be demonstrated successful in working with. Acne, dermatitis, ringworm, scabies, constricted capillaries, relieves itching, eczema. We talked about that quite a bit. Softens and degreases skin, removes blackheads, cools the skin, again from the fever or sunburns. One of the most amazing oils to use with a combination of helichrysum and tea tree and rosemary for sunburns. Absolutely amazing. Retains skin moisture, toothache, and detox the skin, pulls garbage right out. We go over the digestive system. Absolutely amazing. Starting at the mouth, gingivitis. Going to the stomach, you have colic and cramps, indigestion, flatulence, nausea, travel or morning sickness, diarrhea, ulcers. It's a pancreatic stimulant, liver stimulant, helps with cirrhosis. It was amazing as I read the little thing about cirrhosis of the liver. Why is it part of our defend pack? Liver fatigue and allopathic treatments. So it actually helps with a lot of allopathic treatments to the liver. Irritable bowel syndrome. So you literally have all kinds of amazing use for peppermint in the digestive system. We look at the circulatory system, the peppermint for the heart. Guys, I tell you what, amazing for cardiovascular support. It's one of the most awesome ones you can look at. Lymphatic system, huge, and you'll see that in just a little bit. Heart palpitations, it helps to quiet them. Heart tonic, it's a vasoconstriction action for veins, very close veins that are stretched out. Aids in hypertension, so high blood pressure situation, hypotension, excuse me. So it's going to help raise blood pressure. That's one of the reasons people faint. They have such low blood pressure that they stand up, woo, boom, they lay down. And so the hypotension, it's going to raise the blood pressure. Increase of white blood cells, activating the lymph flow and drainage. That's why it's so good for the lymphatic system, because it really helps to activate the flow and drainage of the lymphatic system. For your immune system, they went on to talk about cholera, yellow fever, colds, flus, fevers, warms when cold, cools when hot, and excellent for infections. You can see why the peppermint is going to show up in many blends, because of the action that it has. Not only is it an amazing oil as a single, but it works as an affixer to bind everything together as one unit when used with a blend. When we look at the emotional side, the energetic system, it's kind of amazing. It enhances our receptiveness and our capability on the mental and spiritual levels. It instills inspiration and insight. It's just one of those oils that just really works well with your emotions and your psychic abilities. It also is said to bring dreams and develop emotional tolerance. So if you're having a flared moment, stop, take a snort, see if it calms you down so you're not wanting to be angry at someone you love. For the nervous system and brain, guys, absolutely amazing. Peppermint is one of my favorite oils to use. First oil I reach for every time if there's a headache going on. One of the first things I'll do with a headache is I'll reach right in here on the web of my thumb, right between the pointer finger and the thumb. There's a little fatty web there. Reach in there and kind of dig around a little bit and see if it hurts. If it hurts a little bit, go over to the other side. If it hurts a whole lot more, you have what's called a frequency headache. One hemisphere of the brain is out of balance. If it's out by 3 megahertz, you have a headache. If it's out by 10, you have a migraine. If you massage peppermint in those two areas, it's almost instantaneous. The headache subsides. That's powerful. That's one of the fun ones that you like playing with at different parties when someone has that weaned on pickle look. Great for mental exhaustion, helps to pick you up. You mix a little of that with basil, you are off to the races as far as mental exhaustion. Nervous stress, it seems to really take and soothe frazzled nerves. Great for the herpes zoavirus and shingles, vertigo, and of course aids in neuralgia and sciatica. One of the good oils to massage on the lower back and hips for sciatica. For the reproductive system, guys, eases menstrual cramping, aids in morning sickness, labor and delivery, aids with mastitis. Amazing for that, I'll tell you guys. A very good kidney tonic, and also works well for cystitis. For the respiratory system, again, you can imagine being the mint, the compound mentha, how it's going to open things up and get things moving. Asthma, bronchitis, spastic dry cough. You mix a little bit of that honey, you got your cough drop right there. It's amazing. Pneumonia, sinusitis, laryngitis, halitosis, tuberculosis, cleaning and purifying of the respiratory system, getting that mucus and musa up out of the body. That's kind of an awesome thing that peppermint will do. When we look at the muscular system and the skeletal system, amazing. Again, the muscular system, aches and pains, it's quite evident, as well as bone pain. Guys, I tell you what, you need to test this. Let your husband smash his finger, then just put peppermint on. He will be blown away how quickly the pain subsides. It's amazing. When you do smash a digit, and I've done that, you can see these 2 fingers have been smashed. If they're smashed bad enough that the blood's not coming out and you can see it starting to darken, it'll bleed underneath the nail, and then it's going to create pressure, and it's going to hurt like the dickens. So you take and throw the peppermint oil right on the nail. I mean, you put several drops, you can see it go down around the nail on the cuticle. And then a lot of people like to heat up a needle and go through the nail that way. I just take an X-Acto knife, and just the weight of the X-Acto knife, just take my finger and spin it just like a top. And it literally will drill a hole right down through the nail, and blood will squirt out. That relieves the pain of the blood pushing so hard, but the bone pain when you smash it real hard is gone. Bump your shins and put it on. You'll see real quick how that pain is gone in a hurry. Anytime you bang a bone that hurts, grab your peppermint. It is amazing. Neuralgia, one of the oils that's been used a lot for neuralgia. Again, kind of amazing how it works for that. Well, guys, I tell you what, peppermint is one of the oils, one of the unsung heroes. It literally is looked over because everyone knows about peppermint. Oh, peppermint goes into candies and goes into cakes and goes into dainties. Peppermint should be a mainstay in your first aid kit. You should never, ever, ever be without peppermint. Peppermint is one of those oils that will do so many different things. When you look at the chemical compounds within peppermint, it has over 800 chemical compounds. Its biodiversity is so enormous that it literally can be used for multiple things. And that's why when you look at putting together your first aid kit, you should be looking at the oils that we refer to as the universal oils. Lavender, peppermint. These are 2 of the most universal oils you can find out there. And if that's all you have in your first aid kit, guys, guess what? You are as rich as the ancient kings, because they carried these oils with them because they knew the power within. Remember, health is a habit, not an event. Start your healthy habits today with Be Young Essential Oils.